Hey, welcome. Today we're going to talk about a tool for thinking that is just brilliantly simple, but it is so powerful. It's all about helping us stop putting out fires and actually start fixing problems for good. So let's just jump right in. But first, let me ask you something. Do you ever feel like you're just stuck in a loop? Solving the exact same problem over and over and over again? It's that frustrating feeling when an issue you thought you fixed just pops right back up a few weeks later. Well, the reason is usually pretty simple. We're not actually solving the problem at all. We're just fixing the symptoms. It's kind of like taking a cough drop when you have a lung infection. Yeah, it might make you feel better for a minute, but it does absolutely nothing to cure the actual disease underneath. So, to get past those surface level symptoms, we need a way to dig deeper. And that's where this technique called root cause analysis comes into play. Think of it as a structured way to find the real source of what's going wrong. And the key word here is structured. This isn't about just, guessing wildly. Root cause analysis is a systematic method. It's about peeling back the layers of a problem one by one until you finally find that one fundamental cause, the thing that, if you fix it, will stop the problem from ever happening again. Okay, so the most famous version of this technique is called the 5 Whys. It actually came from Taiichi Ohno, the guy who was the architect of the legendary Toyota production system. And his instruction was simple, but honestly pretty profound. He said, don't accept the first answer. You have to keep asking why like a curious kid. Just keep going until you literally can't ask it anymore. That's where the real answer is hiding. All right, let's see how this actually works in the real world. For our first stop, we're heading to a pretty high-stakes environment, a factory. Specifically, Atlantis Foundries, a massive metal casting company down in South Africa that was facing a really serious quality control problem. So the foundry was just consistently missing its targets. Their scrap rate, that's the parts they had to just throw in the trash, was way too high. And their rework rate, the parts they had to try and fix, was even worse. And you gotta understand, every single percentage point you see here represents a huge amount of time and money and effort just being wasted. Now, the team could have easily blamed the operators or maybe some complicated procedures, but they didn't. Instead, they used a systematic, fact-based investigation. They just followed the trail of evidence. And you know what? It didn't lead them to some huge, complex failure. It led to something surprisingly simple. And there it is. All that waste, all of those defects, it all came down to worn-out parts on a single machine. That's it. It wasn't human error. It wasn't a bad process. It was just a simple little component that needed to be replaced. By finding that true root cause, they could finally fix the problem for good. Okay, so it works for fixing machines. Great. But what about problems that are less mechanical and more, human? Could a tool that was born on a factory floor really be used for something as complicated and messy as social injustice? Let's find out. So for our second case study, we're going somewhere completely different. We're going to a Media for Social Justice course at Cabrini University. The students there were given the task of understanding a really deep, complex social issue. And guess what? They used the very same 5 Whys logic we just talked about. And the problem they decided to tackle was a stark one, something highlighted in a 2020 report from the ACLU of Georgia. Get this, nearly 200,000 registered citizens had been purged, just removed from the state's voter rolls. I mean, that could potentially disenfranchise a massive number of people. So the symptom was crystal clear, but what was the underlying disease? So the students started digging. Okay, why number 1? Why were people removed? The official line was that they had moved. Okay, so why number 2? How did officials know they moved? Well, because they hadn't returned a postcard that was sent to them. Right. So why number 3? Why on earth would you rely on this purge by postcard method? It turns out it was used to keep the voter rolls accurate, but, and this part is absolutely critical, they did it without properly verifying the addresses first. Why number 4? Why did that even matter? Because this method didn't affect everyone the same way. It hit young, low-income, and minority voters way harder than anyone else. And that leads us to the final crucial question. Why number 5? Why them? Because these are the very groups who are demographically most likely to rent, to move more often, or to just mistake an official-looking piece of mail for junk mail and throw it out. And this is where the analysis gets truly powerful. The investigation didn't just stop at a flawed process, right? It uncovered a much, much deeper root cause. A system that, whether it was intentional or not, produced an outcome that was rooted in systemic racism and ageism. Now, as powerful as this tool is, I have to be clear, it's not magic. The process itself is simple, sure, but using it well, that takes real discipline. And there are a few common traps that people tend to fall right into. First off, people rush it. They just jump to conclusions based on their opinions, not on actual facts they can check. Another huge mistake is asking too few whys. I mean, think about it. If the students in that second case study had just stopped at people didn't return their postcards, they would have completely missed the real story, right? They would have stopped at a symptom and ended up blaming the individuals instead of uncovering the systemic root cause. Okay, so let's bring these two very different stories back together. We've got a factory and a classroom, a machine and a social system. What on earth is the connection here? The connection is the power of persistent, structured inquiry. It's the idea that the exact same logical method, that relentless asking of why, can lead you to a worn-out machine part, or it can lead you to a deep-seated social inequity. This just goes to show that the 5 whys isn't just a tool for engineers. It's a tool for thinking. It's for anyone who wants to move beyond those surface-level fixes and create real, lasting change. And that really just leaves us with one final question. For you, think about that problem in your life that just keeps coming back. You know the one. That thing you keep fixing, but it never really goes away. What do you think would happen if you actually sat down and forced yourself to ask why 5 times? What surprising truth might you uncover?